first, I'd like to commend you for the great work that you do every day, and also to say that all of us, the private sector and government, must work hand in hand at this time. This is a time of great challenges, and it is always, everywhere in the world, the stock exchange very quickly recognizes where there is an economic challenge, because you see it in all the indicators show you clearly, the prices show you very clearly that there are complications and that there are problems. So I want us to just see ourselves as partners working together to ensure that we're able to take our nation out of where we are at the moment to great and permanent prosperity. And I know that all of you who are here are great patriots in your own way. Because you could have disappeared and possibly worked in Dow Jones or worked in NASDAQ or somewhere else, or maybe even German 30 or Germany 30 or somewhere. But you're still here, you haven't checked out, which is a very good thing. I want to thank you.
The Vice President, Yemi Osinbajo, there on the floor of the Nigerian Stock Exchange. He's been to that market. He was there once last year in November, and he's been there this year as well when we had the green bond session with other team from the fiscal authorities, the federal governments there. Now, we've been looking at the 2 years administration of the Buhari government, and we've been taking a look at how this administration has actually impacted on equities, on fixed income, and all other instruments that we have in the capital market. And helping us to do justice to this is Ibn Abor Prince Will from Planet Capital. Thank you for sticking around. So, equities, last year, 2016, 2015 as well. Talk to us about what we saw.
For the equities space, like I mentioned earlier, we've seen a decline in capitalization by almost 2 to 3 trillion. And then for the equities market itself, the all-share index, we've seen a decline from around 34,000 points in 2015 to where it is now, slightly above 29,000. So we think that the confidence level in the market was really low. But between the beginning of May till now, there's been some activity in that space.
So will it be right to say that there had been so much inactions between 2015 through 2016 till the first quarter of this year or something, or till the fourth quarter of last year?
Yeah, I mean, the government was at a standstill, in my own opinion, between 2015 and then 6 months ago. Some of the steps that we're beginning to take at this point should have been done earlier, but like, we don't want to apportion any blame. We're happy that we're on the right path now. So we're beginning to see some of the effects of these reforms on the market.
And we're moving on at the moment. That's
yes,
what it means. And we're beginning to see the positive trends, as it were. So let's talk a little bit about the regulations. We've seen roadmaps. We've also seen rules and regulations, churned out from the exchanges, the FMDQ, the NASD itself, as well as the Nigerian Stock Exchange. How did this, change trading for you brokers on the floor?
I mean, generally, what we seek to do is to create enough transparency for there to be confidence for investors. Investors don't like things that are shrouded in secrecy. So improved regulation means that there's transparency and the market is open. So it encourages investment. So far, what we've seen is there's more appetite now, buy appetite on both the equities and the fixed income side. That's been supported by policies from the monetary authorities. So it's been looking good for brokers. It's easier to sell products to the investing public when you know that you're bringing your money in, it's safe, it's transparent, and then there's no issue as to what's really going on in the market.
Some people have argued that, you see, if they introduce the investors and exporters window for FX, it is going to encourage capital flight. Has this come true?
No, in actual fact, what we've seen so far, the first quarter report that was released by the National Bureau of Statistics, we saw a year-on-year increase in capital importation, but quarter-on-quarter there was a bit of a decline. This is what I can say. In 2015, we had foreign flows to the tune of over 5 billion, but it dropped to 2016 to less than 2 billion. we're thinking right now is beginning to pick up speed. For Q1, what was reported was $908 million. If you multiply that by 4, let's say we're just staying flat at 908, you have over 3 billion. So year on year, it's going to improve. I think with the new FX policy and with the window for exporters and investors, it makes the relative value of the Naira more realistic for foreigners to come in and invest.
Because the dividends, it was easy for them to repatriate their dividends.
Yes, the market is now freer.
So this government also did a lot of external and internal borrowings. Tell us about this.
Okay, between 2015 and now, I mean, we started around 12 trillion in terms of our debt stock, total debt stock, with domestic borrowing taking the chunk of that, around 70% of that figure. Right now, we're at 17 trillion. So in terms of our debt to GDP, is actually increased significantly. We were at around 16, 17 debt to GDP if you use nominal GDP terms. But if you use real GDP, the figure is larger, is around 25% debt to GDP ratio. So we've really borrowed a lot. But thankfully, the drive has been in the area of infrastructure spend, which is better than paying salaries with all the monies that you borrow. Yes, because there's a cost attached to the borrowing, is not free.
So why is the bond experience or the fixed income sentiments limited to federal government alone? We haven't seen much of state bonds this time.
I think there's a crowding out effect. The federal government has capacity to borrow at certain rates. Companies, corporate bonds and state government bonds, not so much. In terms of state government bonds, their allocation, revenue allocation, FAC allocation is actually lower because of the drop in oil prices. So repaying those bonds, they might struggle with it. They already have existing debt for some of them, so they don't have much room in terms of borrowing more for infrastructural development. So that's why they're encouraged to increase their internally generated revenues to support expenditure.
All right. Thank you very much. You've been our ball Prince Will from
welcome.
Planet Capital. We really appreciate you coming to capital markets. Investors, let's watch out for these events next week on the Nigerian Stock Exchange. MRS should be having its facts behind the figures on May the 30th, and Mixstar Real Estate PLC is going to be listing its REITs on the floor of the NSE as well. That will be on May the 31st. CNBC Africa is going to be closing the market on June the 1st. World Bank Chief Financial Officer Joachim Levi should be visiting the Nigerian Stock Exchange as well. That will be on June the 2nd. And of course, we should be having the NSE Derivatives Product Seminar next week on the Nigerian Stock Exchange. So that's the show for this week. Thank you so much for being a part of it. I'm Temple Ashaju, and I'll see you next time.